Okay, let's get into this. I mean, usually when we do a deep dive on a diet book, the advice is, well, it's pretty much the same, right?
Always the same. Eat whole foods, cut out the junk, and above all else,
Leave your vegetables.
eat your broccoli. It's the one thing everyone from vegans to paleo guys can actually agree on.
Almost everyone. Because today we're looking at a philosophy that basically takes that golden rule and just throws it out the window.
Throws it out the windows, putting it lightly.
Imagine a diet where eating a salad isn't just a bad idea. It's framed as an act of, like, chemical warfare against your own body.
We are talking about the carnivore diet. Absolute zero carb. No plants, no fruit, no fiber.
Nothing. Just meat and water.
That's it.
And we're looking specifically at the book, The Carnivore Diet by Dr. Shawn Baker.
Yeah.
It's kind of the Bible for this whole movement. And I have to be honest, my first reaction was, this is nuts.
Of course.
But then you look at the reviews. I mean, thousands of them. 4.8 stars. You have people saying it cured their autoimmune disease, it reversed their diabetes.
And that's the friction, isn't it? That's why we have to talk about it. On one side, you have, all of established medical science saying this is a disaster waiting to happen.
Heart attack on a plate.
Right. And on the other, you have this army of people led by a former combat surgeon saying, I've literally never felt better in my life.
So our mission today is to figure that out. Who's right? The doctor telling you to eat nothing but steak, or the entire food pyramid we've been taught for decades? Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Okay, so to understand the diet, you first have to understand the man. Shawn Baker is not your typical wellness influencer.
No, definitely not. His persona is a huge part of the whole appeal. He's a former orthopedic surgeon, but his background is just intense.
Intense how?
Well, he was a biology major, then went on to play professional rugby in New Zealand.
Which is a brutal sport.
A brutal sport. And then he joins the U.S. Air Force and becomes a combat trauma surgeon. He was actually the chief of orthopedics in Afghanistan.
Wow. Okay, so that's a very specific kind of medicine. You're not managing chronic conditions. You're putting people back together.
Exactly. And he says this himself in the book. He calls trauma surgery fixing broken things. It's reactive. And he started to see the whole healthcare system that way.
As sick care, not health care.
That's the term he uses. A system that profits from managing disease, not preventing it. He says by his 40s, he himself was breaking down metabolic syndrome, joint pain, the works.
And the standard advice wasn't working for him.
It was making him feel worse. So he just started taking things out of his diet, one by one, until the only thing left was meat.
And this is where he becomes his own proof of concept. The N=1 experiment.
Right. And the results he puts forward are, they're physically undeniable. In his 40s, he's deadlifting over 770 pounds.
772, yeah.
Winning Highland Games championships against guys half his age.
But the one that just floors me is the rowing record.
Oh, the ergometer?
Yeah, those things are torture devices, pure agony.
The 500-meter row is just all-out pain.
Right. So he's 50 years old at this point.
50.
Eating nothing but steak and water. And he breaks the American record for the heavyweight 500-meter row.
A time of 1.110.5. That's world-class power output at any age, let alone 50.
So that's his mic drop moment. He's basically saying, you think I'm unhealthy? Come race me. It builds this whole persona.
Yeah.
The badass rebel fighting against weak science.
It's extremely effective. But, we do have to separate the athlete from the science. Being strong doesn't automatically mean your arteries are healthy long term.
For sure.
But he does build a theory to explain why it all works. And it starts with what he calls the evolutionary guessing game.
I love that name. Because it frames all of modern nutrition science as just this tiny little blip.
Exactly. His core argument is that for something like 200,000 years, humans were apex predators. We hunted big, fatty animals. That's what our bodies are designed to do.
And agriculture is, what, 10,000 years old?
A blink of an eye. So biologically, we're still those cavemen just stuck in a modern supermarket full of things we were never meant to eat.
But this is where he makes the big pivot. He goes beyond just low carb and goes full anti-plant. This is the myth of planty goodness.
This is the part that really gets people.
Right. We get it. Sugar is bad. Processed grains are bad. But vegetables, what's his beef? And yeah, pun intended, with something like spinach.
It all comes down to defense mechanisms. Think about it.
Yeah.
An animal can run, it can hide, it can fight back.
Right.
A plant is just stuck in the ground. So how does it stop itself from being eaten into extinction?
It has to fight dirty.
Chemical warfare, that's what he calls it. Plants produce compounds that are basically low-dose poisons to discourage predators from eating them. He names a few specific ones.
Okay, like what? Because these sound like, scary buzzwords.
Well, the big ones are lectins, oxalates, and phytic acid. Take lectins, they're in grains and legumes. He argues they're these sticky proteins that bind to your gut lining.
And that causes...
Right. For some people, he claims it causes leaky gut. These tiny holes that let food particles into your bloodstream, which triggers inflammation all over your body.
So he's connecting things like joint pain and brain fog directly to the vegetables we're eating.
He's saying your body is in a constant state of fighting off these plant toxins. Then you have oxalates.
Those are in the so-called superfoods, right? Like spinach, almonds.
Exactly. And under a microscope, oxalates look like tiny sharp crystals, like shards of glass. They can form kidney stones, but he also argues they build up in your tissues over time, causing pain.
So it's not that one salad will kill you. It's the cumulative effect over a lifetime.
It's death by 1,000 cuts, and this is really the core idea of the diet. If you accept this premise that plants are trying to harm you, then the carnivore diet isn't a fad. It's the ultimate elimination diet. You're removing all the triggers.
The rules seem incredibly simple.
As simple as it gets. Eat animal products. Beef, pork, eggs, fish. Drink water. That's about it. No counting calories. You eat until you're full.
Which has to be appealing. But look, if you go around saying vegetables are poison and doctors are part of a scam, the system is going to push back.
Oh, it did?
Which brings us to the medical license controversy.
The elephant in the room, for sure.
Because the first thing a critic says is, why would I listen to a guy who lost his medical license? So what really happened there?
Okay, so in September 2017, the New Mexico Medical Board got him to agree to a voluntary surrender of his license.
Voluntary surrender never sounds very voluntary.
Right. It's usually code for quit before we fire you. The official document cited concerns over his competence and judgment.
So on paper, it looks really bad.
It does. But Baker's narrative, which is the one his followers absolutely believe, is that this was pure retaliation.
Retaliation for what?
He claims it's because he was getting his patients healthy with diet, which meant they didn't need the expensive surgeries the hospital was selling. He was hurting their bottom line.
The profits over people argument. It fits his worldview perfectly.
It does. Now, to be fair, he did fight it. He underwent an independent skills assessment to prove his competence.
Yeah.
And he passed it. His license was fully reinstated in 2019.
But he never went back to surgery.
No. By then, he'd built this whole movement. He'd written the book. He had his training system. He realized he could have a much bigger impact from the outside.
He became a martyr for the cause, in a way, which probably just made him more credible to his base.
Without a doubt.
Okay, so let's get to the real meat of it. We have the anecdotes, we have the persona. Where's the hard data? Where are the clinical trials?
And that's the big weakness. We do not have long-term randomized controlled trials on a strict carnivore diet. They don't exist yet.
So we're kind of flying blind.
Not completely. Baker was involved in a big survey that came out of Harvard in 2021.
A survey, not a trial.
Right. An important distinction. It's self-reported. But the sample size was over 2,000 people who had been on the diet for at least 6 months.
Okay, 2,000 is not nothing. What did they report?
The results were kind of shocking. 95% said their overall health improved. But the diabetes numbers were the real headline.
I saw this. Is it true that 100% of the diabetics in the study came off their injectable meds?
100% either stopped or significantly reduced them. We're talking about almost total reversal of insulin dependence. 93% improved or resolved hypertension.
If a drug company made a pill that did that, it would be the biggest blockbuster drug in history.
Easily. But again, the giant asterisk here is selection bias.
Of course. You're only hearing from the people it worked for. The ones who tried it for a week and quit aren't filling out the survey.
Exactly. We're hearing from the success stories, but even so, the results are so dramatic, especially with diabetes, that you can't just ignore them.
But there was one number in that study that makes every cardiologist just break out in a cold sweat.
The LDL.
The LDL cholesterol. This is the LDL paradox, right?
Right. It is, because normally when you lose weight and your blood sugar gets better, your heart health markers improve. And a lot of them do on this diet. Triglycerides plummet, HDL, the good cholesterol goes up.
All good things.
All great things. But the LDL, the so-called bad cholesterol, it often goes through the roof. The median in that Harvard survey was 172.
And a doctor normally wants you under, what, 100?
Under 100, yeah. Maybe even under 70 if you have other risk factors. So 172 is alarmingly high by any traditional standard.
So you have these people who look and feel fantastic, but their blood work says they're on the verge of a massive heart attack. How does he explain that?
He says the context is everything. He argues that in someone who is lean, athletic, and fat adapted, a lean mass hyperresponder, that high LDL isn't a sign of disease, it's a sign of energy transport.
Okay, break that down.
Think of LDL particles as little boats carrying energy, fat, and cholesterol around your body. If you're eating carbs, you have plenty of glucose fuel, so you don't need that many boats. But if you're zero carb, your body runs on fat. It needs to constantly ship that energy to your cells. So the liver sends out way more boats. He argues it's a sign of a high-functioning metabolism, not a traffic jam in your arteries.
So the mainstream view is too many boats are going to cause a crash, and Baker is saying, no, there's just a lot of commerce happening.
That's a perfect analogy. And the scary thing is, we don't know for sure who's right. It's a massive, real-time experiment.
And it's not the only question. What about basic stuff like vitamin C scurvy? I was always taught you get that from fruits and vegetables.
It's the classic objection. But the fascinating thing is, it seems that glucose and vitamin C compete for the same pathways into our cells.
They use the same cellular doors.
Exactly. And Baker's theory is that when you remove all the glucose, your body's need for vitamin C plummets. You become incredibly efficient at using the very small amounts found in fresh meat.
So the recommended daily intake is really only for someone on a high-carb diet.
That's the argument. Change the context, change the requirement.
And what about fiber? I think most people assume that if you only ate meat, you'd be in serious trouble in the bathroom.
Another counterintuitive finding, the survey showed 97% of people had their digestive issues improve or resolve. Baker's take is that fiber is actually an irritant that causes bloating and gas.
He calls it a traffic jam.
Yeah, his analogy is if you have a traffic jam, you don't fix it by adding more cars, which is fiber. You fix it by taking the cars away.
That's a very vivid image.
It is.
Okay, before we wrap up, we have to touch on the little civil war happening inside the carnivore world.
Yes, the nose-to-tail debate.
The Liver King camp versus the Shawn Baker camp.
Basically, yeah. You have one side led by people like Dr. Paul Saladino, who are the purists. They say muscle meat, a steak, a burger isn't enough. You have to eat the organs.
Liver, kidney, heart.
They call it nature's multivitamin because that's where all folate and micronutrients are.
Which is a tough sell. A ribeye is one thing. A plate of liver is a different challenge.
And that is Shawn Baker's exact point. He's the pragmatist. He worries that if you tell people they have to eat organ meats, they just won't do the diet at all.
It's an accessibility issue.
Right. He's the steak and eggs guy. He gives people permission to just eat the muscle meat. His argument is that the best diet is the one you can actually stick to long term.
And you can go to any restaurant in America and order a steak, hold the sides. It's sustainable.
Sustainability is everything.
So let's pull back. You have a diet that seems to break every rule in the book. You have a doctor who's a rebel. You have thousands of miracle stories on one side and cardiologists warning of a ticking time bomb on the other.
It really is the ultimate nutritional cliffhanger.
So what's the big takeaway here for someone listening?
I think it comes down to how you define risk. Baker is actually very honest about this. He says he has no idea if this diet makes you live longer.
He's not promising you'll live to be 120.
No, he's promising to improve your quality of life right now. His argument is if you are sick and in pain and miserable today, is it worth the theoretical unknown risk of a heart problem 20 years from now to fix all of that?
That's the trade-off. Feeling amazing for 20 years with a potential risk versus feeling awful for 40 years following the standard advice.
It forces you to actually think about what your health goals are.
So here's the thought I want to leave everyone with. We assume our modern food environment is normal. The grocery store, the constant snacking. What if that's the real radical experiment?
And we're all the subjects.
Right. So is Shawn Baker the crazy one for opting out of it? Or is he one of the few people seeing things clearly in a world that's making itself sick?
And are you willing to bet your own health to find out which it is?
That is the question. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Go eat a steak. Or maybe a salad. We'll see you next time.